The dawn of capitalism, when corporations as mighty as nations rule the seas and dominate the world's valuable trade routes. With an iron
The term development hell gets thrown around a lot, and it usually isn't a good sign for the game in question. Generally, if the game ever sees the light of day, it is a less than stellar experience. But there are examples of games bucking that trend. 2023's Dead Island 2 had no business being as fun as it was after the absolute horror of its development. So there are shining lights to look towards for games in a similar situation. Ubisoft's Skull and Bones is one such title, and despite numerous delays, years of silent treatment from the dev team, and continually lowering expectations from the gaming community at large, it is finally approaching, and after taking part in the closed beta, things are looking up. For those that don't know, Skull and Bones is something of a spin-off from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Ubisoft has taken the excellent ship combat from that game and woven it into its own experience, which is essentially a pirate simulator. You start as a shipwrecked survivor with nothing and aim to become the greatest pirate in the Caribbean by plundering the high seas in your ever-expanding fleet of ships. It is a simple premise and one that frankly translates into the world of video games quite well. After all, the pirate fantasy is a well-established trope that is surprisingly underserviced in video games, so there's certainly space in the market for some swashbuckling adventure. Skull and Bones is set in a persistent online world. Think Destiny, and as such features the many trappings that have come to define these sort of games. There are in-world events that encourage group participation to take down a particularly tough enemy, co-op focused missions, and general open-world shenanigans. But in what is good news for players like myself who struggle to get a group of friends together, most of the content seems to be perfectly playable as a single player. I'm sure as the game progresses and harder challenges present themselves, getting a fleet of friends together will be needed at some point. But in the first 6 hours of the game, it was perfectly fine to go it alone.
Everyone, fire! Open out the sails!
They will know your name, Captain, or we will force it down their throats.
Some sails! Bow side, Captain! Starboard! Fire!
Ha! Their ship will sink. It
The
is
star of the game is the combat, and has been pretty much transported from Black Flag intact. That isn't to say things haven't been improved though, because while the combat basics are pretty much the same, the ability to change your ship's weapon loadout, manage the wind and stamina of your crew, and make adjustments to your ship's manoeuvrability give the combat plenty of depth to go along with the classic feel. Engaging in ship-to-ship combat is a blast, and is really the star of the show. That isn't to say that sailing the world and exploring what is a stunning map isn't fun, because it is. But combat is the reason you are here, plain and simple.
right.
Captain, jail!
Oya, Captain! The crewmates on fire! One ship of sea people is in sight!
What, Captain?
Sail on the horizon!
Captain, port side!
The rest of the game shares a lot in common with games like Ark or Conan Exiles, in that crafting, resource gathering and upgrading parts plays a huge part in the game. Players will need to loot, steal, plunder or find the materials needed to upgrade all facets of their ship or even build new ships. Armour, weapons, cargo, furniture, and appearance can all be changed, upgraded, and improved by first gaining the required blueprint and then using the appropriate tradesman at the pirate home base. It is here that I have some concern, because reasonably early on I hit a mission that was well above my ship level, so I had to spend some time hunting and gathering the material needed to upgrade my ship enough to be able to take on the mission. I worry that later in the game, this gear grinding may become obnoxious, and hopefully Ubisoft gets the balance right.
They can't match us! They are done!
We're under fire!
For a game that has come from such a troubled development, it runs really well on PC. Even though this was a beta, I barely ran across any glitches or tech issues. There were some very occasional instances of pop-in, but apart from that, things ran as smooth as silk. Using a controller to play is a must, however. I found the keyboard controls to be a little unintuitive and clumsy, but that could easily just be me and my history with Black Flag pushing my preference for a controller. I also didn't notice any network-related issues, with connections seemingly stable and lag-free. From a tech standpoint, Skull and Bones is showing that all the delays have been used wisely.
Calling compromise! It requires attention!
We are prepared! Say hello to them!
To victory!
It looks like troops will feel somewhere!
Perhaps my biggest concern for the game is longevity. Sure, I had a blast for 6 hours of the game time that the beta allowed for, but I worry that I've already seen the entire gameplay loop. 6 hours of fun doesn't mean that 16, 36 or 66 hours will be just as fun. I really hope that there are some surprises in store to mix up the gameplay over what I expect to be a hefty campaign. Otherwise, I can see the player count dropping fairly dramatically soon after launch.
And it's time for joy and be happy about ourselves!
Eat your boot and sit on your sword.
We've got
Leagues ahead of you. Some captains serving my cause are rooted deep among the French. For now, my agents in the Compagnie remain in the dark. Their findings useless. Press my boot down harder on their grind.
In all, my time with Skull and Bones was quite a surprise. I really didn't think the game was going to come together after such a troubled development, but it appears I was wrong. The combat is familiar to Black Flag fans, but has added depth, and the world is a beautiful one to explore. I do worry that there is going to be some serious late game grinding, and that there will be a lack of variety over the length of the game. But for now, I'm quite positive in my time in this Pirate Wonderland. If Ubisoft can get the balance right in regards to the loot grind and adding new events, this is a game I can see myself playing on and off again for a long period. I guess we will all know for sure when Skull and Bones finally lands on the 13th of February on the PS5, Xbox Series and PC.
fire now! We're ready to board
They will be feeding us ready to board!
Special thanks go to Ubisoft Australia for providing me with access to the closed beta. Make sure you head over to player2.net.au and check out the written version of this preview and all of our other content while you're there. Please like and subscribe the video, and if you want to check out something new, check out the preview in the top corner of this video. Thank you for joining us over at Player2, and we'll catch you next time. See ya!